If you've ever watched your teen or young adult shine in one environment and then struggle in another, and you can't really explain why, this conversation is going to connect the dots for you. I'm sitting down with Amy Shepley. She's the Director of Innovation at the Birkman organization and the granddaughter of its founder, Dr. Roger Birkman. The Birkman is the only personality assessment that uncovers a person's hidden expectations of others and their work environment. And that insight, it's a game changer. When helping young people choose a career where they can truly thrive, this is a tool that we've seen make all the difference in the world. So let's go ahead and dive right in with Amy Shepley. Amy Shepley, welcome. I feel like you've been here before because we talk so much and like each other so much.
I can't believe I haven't been here. I'm so excited to be here for my very first time.
This is long overdue.
Long overdue.
We need to lead with the fact that Dr. Roger Birkman is your beloved grandfather.
He is. That's always my X factor or my fun fact is that I think he's one of the most significant psychological, industrial, psychologists in the last, 70 years. And what he did has such an impact on so many different people and so many different applications. But the best part is he was truly just the most amazing human. So I'm proud of what he has contributed to, and I'm proud of the work that he does and that we continue that. But he was actually just the most amazing man.
I love that. He is so respected, and I would expand it well beyond the 70 years that you just said.
I agree.
So we had your mom on before, Sharon Birkman, and she was on, so everybody knows, she was on episode 43. The reason that we want to do these episodes is the Birkman personality assessment is, you and I believe, and I'm just going to say no, that there's no better assessment out there. It's unique. Your mom and I talked about that. So Sharon and I talked about that. We talked about what it measures. But in my work as a career coach with 16 to 25-year-olds, we lean heavily not only into that self-awareness that Sharon and I spoke about, but the job list that is generated from the Birkman that helps really, instead of telling a young adult or a teenager, you could be anything, which is not true. It funnels it down to a more manageable list to work on for their career development and advising.
Yes.
And so my goal today is to really do a deep dive on the importance of this, how we get to that list, why is that list reliable, and how we use it. So let's dive right in.
Let's dive in.
Okay. So really what we're doing is a scientific approach to career advising, which, by the way, could be for anybody of any age. I just happen to work with 16 to 25-year-olds.
Correct.
So why are we able to say we're taking a scientific approach?
So the reason we are able to say that we're taking a scientific approach is that we are combining many different scales, many different dimensions of who somebody is. And the real key to that, and Birkman is differentiated this way, this is a large word, but we are a psychometrically validated assessment. And so that means that we have to go through every 10 years processes that demonstrate that we are valid and that we are reliable. And everything that we do is rooted in science. And so, there's definitely a lot to learn, and it's interesting and it's fun to learn about yourself. But there's a lot of assessments that can do that, and it's fun, but they're not necessarily rooted in science. So when we take a look at our job families, our job list, what you're looking at is a list of how much you look similar to people who are working in those areas based on the dimensions that Birkman measures. So it's not just, are you interested in the same types of things? It's not just do you show up in a usual style the same way, or do you have the same needs? We combine all of those. So you're really getting this three-dimensional look. But the key to that, and really the most important piece, is the groups that we're matching you to. So let's say we're matching you to teachers. So we're saying, how much do you look like someone that would go into teaching? The key to what makes our data so powerful is that those people had to be in that job for at least 7 years, and they said they were happy in that job. So it doesn't mean they were just in the job, right? They didn't get that job last year, because especially using this example of teaching, we know there can be a high turnover in that area. They've been doing it for a while. And the big piece is they are saying they're satisfied doing that job. So what we're able to do is to take all of this data that you're giving us when you fill out the questionnaire, you're giving us all of this data. We essentially create a profile for you that is your unique profile. Then we're matching your profile to all of these different careers, all of these different profiles for people that are working in different areas. And the higher the match, the more you look like people who stay in a career and are, the most important, they're satisfied in that career. They're sticking around and they're saying, I enjoy what I do.
So I love the explanation, this we're reliable and valid. Like we are testing and retesting this. We have to prove that regularly because I get questions all the time from those that work in schools with teens and college students and recent graduates, parents, students less so concerned with it, but like, how do I know that this is good? Right? How do I know that this is reliable? So that's first, right?
Yes, that's first.
So let's back up for a second and explain how, when somebody takes the Birkman, so let's stick with the teacher for a sec.
Okay.
Let's say a 40-year-old teacher is sitting down to take the Birkman. How do we know what is asked of them that lets us know that they've been in the job for at least 7 years and they love what they're doing?
So that's done through at the both at the beginning of the questionnaire. So before you actually start the Birkman questionnaire, we collect a lot of data. It's optional, so people don't have to fill that out. And the data that we collect doesn't impact their Birkman results at all. But it's a way for us to track where are they right now. And we actually even ask what few jobs they had before that. So what job are they in now and how long have they been in that job? And then if they've been in other jobs, we ask them to go back. Again, it's all voluntary. So you can choose to do that or not. After you finish the Birkman questionnaire, then we have other follow-up surveys that people get. And these are triggered at different times. So if someone takes the Birkman, you might not have this experience, right? So it's certain things that are triggering different surveys on the end. And at the end of the questionnaire, we give job satisfaction surveys, right? So we collect and say, are you happy? Do you like this job? Do you like the people you work with? Do you like the environment and the pace? And that allows us to get the job satisfaction piece of the information. Now, the way I'm explaining it, this looks like this happens very quickly, and it doesn't. So these data collections are taking place over 5, 10, 15 years, right? Because we have to collect a lot of the data to be able to create these profiles that have these trends attached to them. So we, in one moment that someone takes the questionnaire, we're collecting a lot of data from that individual. But where the science comes from is collecting lots of data from lots of individuals. And that's where we are able to start creating those profiles of groups of people that are in a job, they are staying in that job, and they're saying they're happy in that job. And that's really the shift of our goal is not just to say, what can you do? Like, what are you able to do? It's more important for us to say, what can you do? And where are you going to be really happy and love what you do? That's the goal.
Key.
That's key.
I mean, when you ask a parent, what do you want for your kids? And I don't care if the kid's little. I don't care, my kids are in their 20s. I don't care if you ask my parents, who are 80 and I'm 56. The number one answer is, I just want them to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't hear people say, I want them to be rich.
No, absolutely not. And what's challenging about that is that there's ways to be really good at things. And so, one thing that we hear a lot is that people will be really great at math. And the parents are like, it comes so naturally to you. You've always gotten straight A's. You've always excelled and been identified for your math skills. And so it makes sense that we push them into that. And we say, you should go into finance or, some type of math occupation. But with Birkman, we're able to say, even if you're good at it, that doesn't mean you're interested in it. And interest with Birkman means it is fulfilling, it is motivating, it is energizing. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to go to my job. It doesn't just mean I can do it, like I'm competent at it, right? And especially when we're talking about your particular demographic, it's very hard, I think, for parents to separate that skill doesn't mean desire. And I think it can be challenging for us as parents to separate out that just because we're interested in it doesn't mean our child is, and vice versa, right? It's so hard for us to pull ourselves out of that equation and to really see like our child is a unique entity that is not me. It's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we're raising these and I'm a grandma now too. So now we have like a grandson who's turning 1. And I look
Wow.
at him and you already start to like dream for them, like what you want for them, and happiness is there. But we also start to insert, oh, that could mean they might be a fill in the blank.
Absolutely. And so that it's good intentioned, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not coming from a bad place, but it can lead people into very wrong careers, and they can go and spend a lot of money on degrees, and then they get into the job, and that's the piece about the job satisfaction. It's not just do I like the task, right? Like if I'm a teacher, I like teaching. It means I like the environment that I'm in. I like the pace of the environment. I like that it allows me to have a lot of variety in the day. So it's really getting at all the dimensions of the job, not just do I like the pure activity that the job is calling me to do. And so the higher your job match on that job list, the what it's really saying is you look, walk, talk, think like people who are in this job. And that means that when you go into that job, the people are going to seem familiar to you. Like these are people that you get and they get you. And so that's why something like what you do is so important, because if you don't have a high match on the job list, the answer is absolutely not that you shouldn't do that. But it's that we need to educate you a little bit more on what that might mean, right? So you're going to go into this job. And what's interesting is sometimes when you don't look like a traditional person in a job, you actually take an approach that's so unique that you become even better and you excel at it, because it's like, wow, people don't normally teach like that. Like that's what makes them so successful. However, it's important for you to know most of these people don't think like you, right? So when you go into that job, be prepared and have awareness that they might not be the people you're going to hang out with on the weekend because they're kind of different from you. And that's not a bad thing. But I think that's where the value is of just the knowledge of either this is going to feel seamless, like these are your people. They are like you
Yeah.
get them, they get you. It's going to feel effortless. You're never going to wonder if you're in the wrong job. Or, hey, you could actually have a really interesting point of view at this job, but you're going to think differently from most of them. And so you're going to need to know there's going to be a lot of times that you're like, I don't think they get me, or maybe I don't get them. And that if you're aware of that, it's something that you can decide if you want to sign up for that. But it's why it's the answer is not if I am high on a job title, if a job is high on my job list, it's a yes, and if it's a low, it's a no. It's just not that straightforward, and that's where the process you're walking people through really helps them to understand that.
It's funny because people will ask me sometimes, can I just buy the Birkman from you? And I know what they really want is they just want the jobs list that we're able to generate. And I'm always like, I'm not a reseller of the Birkman assessment. And quite frankly, like none of us are, that's not what we do, right?
Right.
We are consultants and coaches who use a
Yeah.
tool, and this tool adds value. And so a couple questions, a lot of things came to mind, but one
Well, I
is,
want to
yeah,
add to that
yeah,
because I think they don't just want the job list. My experiences in 20 years, they want a printout of this is the job to do. Like
yeah,
it's like
they want somebody to tell them what to do.
become a cardiac doctor. And
Yes.
so we feel like that's possible, and it's not. What Berkman gives you is a lot of data, and then you have to really sit and say, what do I want out of my life? What's important to me? And this Berkman data. And that's what creates the story that really allows people to put themselves on a trajectory, the career that's going to be satisfying. And so I would love it if we could just say input your data and we spit out the right career for you. But it's a process. We're complicated, right? What we
Yeah.
want is different. And so it definitely streamlines those options, which makes it much more digestible and approachable. But you still have to look at this like it's a an investigation. It's a detective journey of what's right for me, what do I want, what would be the implications of different careers or majors that I choose, and you have to really approach it like a journey.
Well, we would all like, oh, should I? I've lived in Cincinnati my whole life. Oh, should I move? Like, would I be happier somewhere else? Well, I could investigate it, but ultimately I have to make a decision among like a bunch of good options, right?
Right, right.
But I can also funnel out what looks like, ooh, that's cautionary. Because to your point, I always say to people, there are green lights on this list. So if we've got 23 job families, same ones
Yep.
that the Department of Labor uses. And so with those job families, if something's towards the top of the list, I'm like, it's basically saying your wiring, as we measure it with our tool, looks fantastically like the people who have been working in that job for a long time and they absolutely love going to work every day. Doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
love everything about every day because there's no
Right.
job like that.
Yeah.
But you so resemble those people. So you have a high chance of loving a career in that. So that's a green light to me.
Yes. Yes.
But I also tell people there are no red lights. It is not my job to put a red light. So just because towards the end of the list, I always crack up when I look at my own jobs list. I look at that stuff at the bottom, like, oh yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're a 0% match or a 10 or a 20% match on this. And sometimes we do get students in the course, to your point, where they the job they've been thinking about is a low
Mhm.
match. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not my job to say red light, but I will say that's a yellow light. There's some caution.
Yeah.
You should slow down, take your foot off the gas a little bit. Don't put it on the brake,
Yep.
but investigate deeply,
Yep.
and that's where we then take that list and we teach them to research online. We go ahead and then we say, okay, let's set you up for how to ask for informational interviews and job
Right.
shadows and internships and certifications you can get so that you really can vet among your good choices.
Yeah, I love your example of, do I want to move or live somewhere else? And what you're really saying is, let's go visit that place and maybe spend a
Mm.
week or two in that place and get a feel for, do I like the weather and do I like the food and do I like the culture of this place? And that's the process that you help people go through when they're trying to decide, is it that I don't know enough about the job to know that I wouldn't like it? Or do I really like it? I'm just going to approach it from a very different way. And that could actually make me incredibly successful. I will say it's definitely rare that I come across somebody who has an idea that they want to do a job that's very, very low. That's not super common.
It is.
I think what's more common is I think I want to do this, and then seeing that data is validation for, okay, and now it gives me the confidence that what I was being drawn to, there's scientific data to back that up. And so it's more the validation that yes, this is a green light, as you would say.
I remember when my now 20, I'm trying to think, he's going to be 27. Right now 26. I'm like, when are we airing this? He'll still be 26 for a hot minute. So when my 26-year-old did his Birkman, which of course, as parents, we, from a young age, we're like, oh, I can't wait till they're old
I
enough.
can't wait. My
Right?
daughter's 10, and I'm like, who are you?
I know. It's like, it's too early. It's so
Who are
hard to
you?
wait, but we want to. Even my stepdaughter the other day was like, can my friend take that? And, she's 31. So that's,
Yeah.
that's good. But
Yeah, that's she's
yeah.
ready.
But even like, so Trent, my 26-year-old, he he thought he wanted to go into computer engineering. We also know engineering, and he actually wasn't even 100% that it would be computer, but engineering. And there were some signs.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, let's validate it. See, do you look like happy engineers? And what kind of happy engineers do you look like? And engineering can be really tough. Like he's a smarty pants. And so I felt like he could do it. But he even said, if I get in there and it's too tough or I encounter something, I'd also like to know what my other options are. And so it A, validated what he was thinking about, and B, gave him a really solid backup
Mhm.
so that he thought, like, okay, it actually kind of removed some pressure in that
Yeah.
way.
Well, I think it's also, I this kind of seems attractive, but what else is out there that I
Yeah,
might love that I don't know about, right?
there's a lot you don't
When
know about.
yeah, and when you're younger, you don't know what jobs are necessarily and what's out there and what they involve. And so even if it's like, hey, I think it's engineering and the Bertman validates that, it also gives you other suggestions of like, but let me make sure that I don't want to do anything else more, right? So
Yeah,
it kind of goes back to it's going to increase your confidence because it's like, here's who you look like. Is there anything you maybe have never thought about? And you're like, gosh, I didn't even know that was a job. That happens quite a bit, right? Where
yeah.
they're like, what is that job? And you're like, oh, well, this is what they do. And someone's like, oh, that sounds really fun. And so some of it is just even the exposure to what jobs are and what jobs are out there. But the match is obviously a huge source of confidence, but also knowing that there isn't something that you would love even more and that you're able to kind of go investigate those and weigh those different career options and then feel more confident moving forward, right? It's the lack of clarity that can create anxiety. So the more data we have, then the more we're able to go forward with confidence and know, like, I can be all in on this in my college, and then when I leave college and I go into my job.
Yeah. One of the things that is you were talking about like the other options, like what are some other good fits and things like that. I've often also found where there are, as you and I both know, especially from a data perspective, when we look at these, there are people who there are a lot of really great fits for, right? So they'll have 2 pages of great fits. There are others that they've got a 1 page solid fit. That's where they
Yep.
should start. In my experience with the students that we've supported, we should say, Birkman has not mapped every single career in the universe.
Right. Because there's every day.
There's new careers every day. There's
Yep.
not time to do everyone, but you guys have vetted careers in every job family.
Yes.
And so by these career clusters that we could call them,
Yep.
what we're saying is like there are other jobs in here. So this again can't be you're now going to be a fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
So we start with this, but then I've had students where they ultimately end up doing something that's a blend of 2 different job families,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's not going to be the fill in the blank, but it's like, oh, both of these interest me. And through the process of researching the jobs, like what we do in module 3 and 4 of my course is very investigative.
Yeah.
First, just online, and then second, through real world experiences. And through that discovery process, then they are encountering other jobs that even on Birkman, we haven't mapped them, but you know what? Oh, what job family does that fall into? Oh, that job family is a high match for me.
Yeah.
And so I have seen this blend where I'll say, like, oh, that job kind of has a foot over here and a foot over here.
Yeah, I love that. Because let's say you're high on public relations and that's where you want to go, but you're high on artistic. So it's like, well, public relations for a firm that has an artistic point of view. Now you've doubled up on what you enjoy, right? You're plugging into
Yep.
2 things that really motivate you and excite you, which means your chances of, satisfaction and really being happy in that job go up. The other thing that comes to mind is that because we don't just provide career data, we provide other data about how you show up, your usual style, and your needs, what you need from the environment. Is let's take your son. He maybe knows he wants to be a computer engineer, but you can use that other data to say what's the right type of company for you to be a computer engineer.
Yes.
Do you want to go to a really big corporate company? Would you like that? Would that be fulfilling? Or would you rather find more of a kind of boutique engineering firm that's smaller and there's fewer people? So again, it's just another layer of data that's going to help guide that there's so many options, right? So anything we can do to close that funnel is going to help us hit a target that's going to be the right target for us, that is going to translate to a job where we're happy. Because to your point, if you can do that, you're winning at life. Like that's a good
Yeah.
life list. Yeah.
I get a lot of questions around like Birkman, what's that? I've heard of this assessment over there. And so you guys are a family owned company still.
Yep.
And I say, well, sometimes that's one reason why you haven't heard of it, where,
Yep.
it's a family owned company and this assessment's a bit more expensive
It
than
is.
the others. But I've always been a proponent of you get what you pay for.
Yes.
If it's
Yes.
free online and takes 15 or 20 minutes to do, that's what the kind of results you should expect.
And I've even heard feedback from other assessments that aren't free that take hours and hours, and the output is not necessarily great scientific output.
I've had a lot of
Um,
people do that one that then come to me for this course.
oh, is that right? Like
Yep.
that didn't go well. And here's the thing: if there's any place in the Birkman, we do a lot of applications, right? So career is one application of the Birkman. If there is any application where the ROI is so easy to demonstrate, it's helping your child choose a college and choose a career, right? It's to choose wrong and to make, even for one semester, the cost of that is so significant. Not to mention the cost to the child or the student of, I didn't do well at that and I picked
Yeah.
wrong. There's even a cost to just the emotional toll that's hard on a student. That's
Right.
hard on somebody at that point in their lives. And so it is more expensive. It is a more sophisticated assessment. It's, in my opinion, the most sophisticated assessment in the market that is non-clinical. So, anything that would get more sophisticated, you're in a different domain. And it's just something that is an investment that your, child or student can use that for the rest of their lives, right? The
Right.
dividends that pays, it's not true for that moment. It's really true for a good part of their life. And so to have that data to keep guiding them to understand who they are, understand, what makes them tick, what makes them happy, and how they translate that to a career and to a college major, it's just a no-brainer.
Well, and before we start hit record, you and I were having fun talking about at our ages in our 40s and 50s, how like the applications we still have and how we continue to come back to it. How many people have taken the Berkman at this point?
It's definitely millions. I don't know the exact number.
I've always heard 3.5 million, and then I'm like, it continues to go up.
Yeah.
But
We should have a ticker in the office that says,
that would
every
be
time
fun.
we should do that. But it's millions for sure.
In your free time, get that
And
ticker
yeah,
going,
go
right?
ask somebody to do that.
Do you know? So when we yield this report and it says you look exactly like the people who are working, adult working population who are working in this job, have persistence and are thriving. How many individuals does it take to say that they have validated a career or a job title?
So to create a psychometric profile, you need at least 100. That
That's
would be
what
a
I
low
always had heard. I
And
just want
that
to
would be
make
a low
sure.
number. So you can imagine more common jobs, we would have thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
data points. But when you're talking about newer jobs, when they just don't exist and you want to
Yeah.
start mapping those, you need to at least get to 100. And we need to find people. So when we're looking at that, we want to find people that are satisfied and saying, I like the job that I'm in, and people that are saying, I do this job and I don't like it.
Right.
That's where you really get the value of not only do you look like people that do enjoy it, you don't look like people who are doing it and saying, I'm not satisfied in my job. And that's really the holy grail when you're building profiles. That's the holy grail, is to be able to say, we can actually see the difference between people that like it and are saying, I'm happy, and people that they have the job, they're doing it, and they're not happy in that job.
Well, as much as on my end, sometimes it can be frustrating going like, let's get more jobs mapped. Let's get more jobs mapped.
Yeah.
I actually appreciate the fact that your guys are like, nope, this is a long game.
Yeah.
We need to have the right numbers. We need to have those who love it, those who don't love it,
Yeah.
so that we've really got a valid data set.
And here's an important point to that, is that of course when you see the job titles and they're very specific, that's helpful, but the job families are the themes. And so if there's new jobs that you don't see in the Birkman, it's you don't have that as a job title, that's where you can really help them to say, what job families, what are the themes of that job, and what job families would that relate to, so you can get to that answer even if it's not a profile and a job title that we have in the database at this time. That's the other value. I think there's so much value, and I'm such a Birkman nerd, I do this for myself. But when you go on ONET and you find a
Mm-hmm.
job that you're interested in and you're like, that's interesting, when you go on ONET, it will say other similar jobs. And so if you look like this job here and they're saying here's jobs that are very similar, that's even more for you to go to explore, right? And so that's where it really becomes like this fun detective process where you can get in there and you can keep clicking on those,
Yeah.
similar jobs, and there's so much there that you can kind of look through and explore. So I would say the Birkman, I think we have 300 or something around 300 specific job profile titles, but there's way more to learn outside of those just based on which titles you look similar to. And then of course if you've got someone that's an expert in this, they can help say, if that's a newer job, let me show you like where I would think that would fall with the job families.
We actually teach like in module 3, because I always say we're first going to take the world's your oyster. You can be anything. We're going to funnel it down to a more manageable, less
Yeah.
overwhelming list for
Yeah.
the average 16 to 25-year-old or human being. Let's just
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
that way. And then we're actually going to take that number and we're going to like expand it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a monthly Q&A with the course. And I had a student the other day and we were talking through it. We were talking about, could you be a user experience specialty career? But I forget what drawing a blank on what it was specifically, but it was how to improve the user experience on whatever
Huh?
they were thinking about. Well, even ONET, BLS, they don't have that built out yet. And if
Mm,
you go to ONET, it'll say currently collecting data. Even they, it's not
yeah.
just you. So on any of these jobs. However, through similar jobs, and ONET will tell you what job family number something belongs to. We teach people how to back end into this.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
on
exciting. Yeah.
BLS, on the Occupational Outlook Handbook, they don't tell you what job family number it is, but on the SOC classification, this is getting so technical for people, but it's I get geeked out on this as well. But like if you on ONET, you can back into identifying the number, then
Mm,
go into the SOC classification list to say, oh, that job that even the government, the Department of Labor is saying, like, we don't have a lot for you. We're still collecting like growth rate and average pay and similar jobs and things like that. You are able to backdoor it in to go, oh, this would be in this job family. And that was a high match, medium match, or low match for me on my Birkman.
see, I didn't know that. So even I'm learning more.
So I
Exciting.
think every time we talk, we both learn something.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that's so important because we're talking about a lot about the top job list, your top job, titles, is also that in conjunction with your interest, right? Because you may have a very high interest that's not going to be part of that job that you ultimately end up in. And there's so much research that your satisfaction of the job will go up if you're fulfilling those interests outside of work too. So it's just another layer of yes, if we can find the job that you like, you look like people that do that, you're excited about it, you have confidence. To your point, not every job is going to have, you're not going to like all elements of it. And it's not going to include all the things that maybe you really are passionate about. And so starting early on being intentional about looking at those high interests and continuing those, because that's interests outside of work are going to fuel job satisfaction at work, right? You cannot separate those two. When
I
I'm
love
happy
that.
outside of work and doing things that I love, where I have a high interest, it's going to make me more recharged and refreshed, which is going to make me enjoy that job more. And so it's just it's an onion, right? Like there's all
Yeah.
these layers of dimensions that we collect about somebody. And it's such one of the most challenging moments in my time at Birkman in the last 20 years. And it hasn't happened a lot, but I've had it happen 3 or 4 times. And I've been with men who were engineers and they were in their 60s and we were going through their Birkman. And when they looked at their job list, engineering was low and they started crying because it's like, this is why I've been miserable. I've been in a job that I thought I would make money. I could do it. I was decent at it. And it has almost killed me to continue to do this
Mm.
job. And they see that data. And for them, they're at this point of, do I go back? And, how do you start over? That's a harder conversation. And it's just such a gift to like not let people get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And to know those answers ahead of time and not just the right direction for a career, but also what do I need? What do I need to make sure I'm getting from a job or even outside of the job? What are my interests? What, an invaluable gift to give someone that's young that you don't have to learn these lessons the hard way. You don't have to. We can give you this data, give you this roadmap and let you just maximize your journey. And so it's to me just it's such a gift.
Wow, Amy, thank you. We're going to put a sample report out for people to see. That is the report that we use in the
Yep.
course. So it'll be at flourishcoachingco.com/Birkman, one of my favorite words.
Yay.
And so, because I know this just fuels people and like, okay, but I want to see it. So we're
Yeah, for
gonna we're gonna
sure.
get it out there as a sample report. Okay, we have to do this again
We
because
do. We do. And I would say, what the process that you offer, this is the easiest way to get to the answer. If anyone tells you they can spit out an answer of what job you should do, save your money and run.
run the
Like
other
it's
way.
it's not possible. If we can't do it, nobody can do it. I feel confident to say that. So it's worth the investigation. It's worth the opportunity to learn about yourself, right? So it's not even just about that answer. It's really there's so much data in there that sets people up for success, and to get that early, it's I don't know how you put a value on it.
I agree. Well, Amy, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
You too.